I crashed during the Chrono Destinations time trial. It had been a long season, miserable weather. I was setting a really fast time. I was on my way to win. I suddenly saw a whole lot of commotion. Another rider had crashed before me. There was a police motorbike that had parked in the roundabout. I tried to slow down, but in the wet weather, when your wheels are already at an angle, you don't stand much of a chance. I slid out and came to a rest by hitting the motorbike. The adrenaline is just going, and I got up and I tried to put pressure on the pedal. I actually heard this then I knew I had broken something in my pelvis. A French doctor said to me, a month completely off the leg, and then 3 months off the bike. I think one underestimates the power of the mind.
How is your hip feeling, Ashleigh?
Yeah, good today.
The most important thing, with a career such as professional cycling, where there's so much that's sort of left to chance, there's so many uncontrollables. I think the most important thing is just to kind of embrace the process. When you try to resist things, it just makes it that much harder. In the past, actually, many years ago, I sustained a near fatal head injury. Even in the first year that I tried to go pro, I broke my collarbone 3 times in the space of 12 months. So this was nothing new.
What do you do when you break your
hip?
Yes. Please sit and relax.
No, it becomes very frustrating doing nothing.
Initially, the pain was incredibly bad, and I couldn't even imagine how I would sit up again by myself. That's how sore it was. I wasn't crying or screaming. I just knew something had happened. And I suppose it's just that uncertainty of, how bad is it, that can be a little bit daunting. It is sort of that thought, I hope that everything's okay and that this isn't going to be career ending, because it is very possible. I was actually quite lucky to land up with a doctor that understood the need to kind of get going as quickly as possible. So he actually took a less conservative approach and encouraged me to start putting a bit of weight on it already at 2 weeks, which I think was saving grace. I was also encouraged to get into the pool. And then I could start using pain as the guide as to how much I could do. As a cyclist, I think that's always the hardest thing. We learn how to push through the pain barrier, and then to learn sometimes just to listen to your body and to listen to the pain and to stop. I think that can also be hard. That could also eventually get onto the indoor trainer. At first it was just absolutely no power at all, just no resistance. Just spinning the legs, seeing how that's feeling. And every day, I just felt there was a little bit of progression, and I could push it a little bit more.
We're not messing around.
Yeah, no, we're doing it proper.
Carl, my husband, plays a really big role in my cycling career. Starting the training again, it's comforting to have someone with you who really cares for you. So it's a team effort, and that's how we kind of approach everything. I did take a slightly riskier approach. The doctors wanted me to be on the indoor trainer much longer than what I ended up staying on the indoor trainer. I was careful. It's about calculated risk, I suppose. I just kind of came to the sort of mindset that, if I just spend all this time on an indoor trainer, I'm going to kill all the motivation that I've built up, So by being injured and being forced to take that rest, which I think in a way was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because I'd spent sort of 7 years going full gas, being a rider from the Southern Hemisphere. Your season doesn't just end in Europe. getting back on the bike and on the road was just such an amazing feeling. But in the same breath, you know, it was also just that kind of nervousness, like, I don't want to set myself back. Yeah, I remember my first ride and I just felt like, wow, I love my bike, you know. So I think that was also great, you know, that renewed motivation and love for just being out in the fresh air on my bike. There were times where I had to back off, you know, when I started to try and do more power intervals because I felt pain, or I felt that the back was compensating. Some of the muscles need to kind of catch a little bit of a wake up because they switched off. So there has been times like once or twice on the bike where I actually felt like they might actually like cramp, or I don't know what, like that kind of sensation, like your lower back. How's that been? So that's been giving a little bit of trouble if I'm climbing a lot. Okay, fair enough. Realistically, that hip is never going to heal in anything less than 6 weeks. Pain needs to be your guide. We're so hard on ourselves as athletes. We never really want to take rest, and whenever you rest, you feel guilty for it. So I had to rest. At the end of the day, the training is only the potential to become stronger, but rest is what makes you stronger. Hug your left knee to your chest, so just balance on that good leg. You're welcome to. It's not really a good leg, but hey. And down. Well, it's going to have to get good. Yeah, exactly. Other side. I'm really lucky to be much further ahead than what I thought I would be. So, you know, if I take myself back to lying in the hospital bed and being told 3 months off the bike, we've just passed 3 months.
Give her advice, Ashleigh. It's important. Give her advice.
Having a leadership role with a lot of younger riders definitely was a great distraction. We knew we had a great group of girls together, and we knew we had a lot of potential, but just from the word go, things just clicked. And I think it's also an attribute to strong leadership, to show the youngsters that it's just as rewarding to be part of a victory as it is to win yourself. Injury could be a blessing in disguise. It's helped with my motivation, it's helped me to realize sort of new things. I've maybe learned to just go with the flow and be in the moment. Race decisions are decisions that have to be made in split seconds, and I think that that could help me to be a more relaxed rider. So yeah, I'm feeling confident for the season going ahead, and as I said, new mindset. I think starting with Strade Bianche was, you know, kind of throwing myself into the deep end. I obviously, you know, I was nervous about the nature of the race, I suppose, and the fact that a lot of off-road, a lot of climbing. I suppose that was a real sort of sign that there was still some work to be done in terms of recovery. It was a little bit of a shock to the system for me. I was happy because I wasn't far off. You know, I literally just missed you know, going with the breakaway. I was right there. My back definitely took strain, so the right side of my body definitely locked up as a result. I knew I had the legs more or less, but the body just wasn't kind of responding the way I wanted it to. I do have to still be really on top of the physio work. I'm very, very dependent on that, and you know, I suppose I will be for a while, but things are improving with every race. To have had quite a good rehab or recovery, there was almost sort of a sense that maybe I could start you know, performing even earlier in the year. So I suppose that's been a little bit difficult to sort of balance that expectation that, hey, remember, I know I'm looking good and I've recovered really well, but remember, it wasn't a small injury, you know. If I didn't get results in those events, I knew I was achieving something else. You know, I was getting stronger, or I was, you know, accelerating sort of the build of my form. It's been great to have a supportive role, to be able to see a youngster like Cicely take that step and be on the podium with the Young Rider jersey was really great. Even before the race, we could all see that Lotte was completely focused on the win, but also just super relaxed about it. And yeah, it was great. There were times actually in the race where, you know, Lotte really takes a lot of responsibility on her shoulders as well. So she's really a rider that's also always in the front. And there were actually times in the race where I had to just say to her, Lotte, just relax, you know. You need to remember
you want to go for the sprint, so don't waste energy. And yeah, I mean, she just delivered perfectly on the day, and it was really, really a great victory for the team. I was actually, I suppose, again, a little bit nervous of Flanders, not because of the climbs and the sort of difficult nature of the course, but more because of the distance. So to be 100% honest, like I said to you, I do feel that I lacked some of the build-up that a lot of the girls had, you know, to ensure I had a good base. But yeah, Flanders was really, yeah, it was a good boost for my confidence, I suppose, because I think it's the first race really this season where I've started to feel like I'm coming back to my old self, you know, and to be at the front on the climbs and to be able to follow those moves, you know, not with ease, but, you know, to feel comfortable doing that. My first real sort of goal for the season is to target the Ardennes Classics. In the past few weeks, I've definitely started to see the old numbers back again on the power. You're constantly wanting to find ways of improving, and it's not necessarily always through training. Sometimes it's a change in mindsets. I just have sort of a new freedom in the peloton where it's quite liberating. I suppose the injury has almost been instrumental in actually really enjoying the racing, but I'm a race winner, and that's in my blood. I want to win.